All right, what's up, everybody? So I came across this article here on Bitcoin Spaces by the Bitcoin Manual, TBM, thebitcoinmanual.com. And it asks, what is the Spaces protocol? So I figured I'd go through it, read it, and see what it thinks. You know, it's kind of older, published July 10th, 2024, but really nobody knows about the Bitcoin Spaces protocol. There's not much out there. So when you look it up, you search for it, there isn't much details. It's relatively new. It just launched on the main chain. November 20th, I think the date was, on the Bitcoin main chain. So let's just go through it and see what it talks about. I'll leave a link to this article in the description below. I'll leave a link to the Bitcoin Spaces protocol in the description below as well. So here we go. Bitcoin created a phase change in how we see data. Before the beloved orange coin, we saw everything digital as a commodity of unlimited supply, able to always be copied and reproduced in some form. The advent of distributed ledger technology brought about a new way of thinking, and early adopters started to grasp the concept of digital scarcity and digital ownership. Bitcoin allows individuals to create a private key that they can only access and claim in a set of funds. As part of the consensus rules, all right, I don't think we need to read this, right? I'll just leave a link to it. Let's just get to some interesting stuff. All right, inscribing block space. So hot right now. So hot. Fast forward 10 years, and we're back at it again. This time, ditching the idea of a separate merge mine blockchain and anchoring information directly into Bitcoin blocks. Makes sense, right? I don't know why there's so much hate for putting information into the Bitcoin blockchain. Satoshi did it with the chancellor on second brink of bailout from the banks, right? Bitcoin is also a messaging system, communication. Money is communication. So putting lightweight inscriptions or whatever, however Satoshi did it, I think that should be straight, right? We shouldn't be against that. Ever since the launch of Ordinals, but that's what it is, right? Ordinals, right? So Ordinals came out and ripped it all. Well, it's just people experimenting. Humans are experimenting. We're up, we're down, just like this little guy, man, this Bitcoin guy, up and down, roller coaster. We're learning from these things. So ever since the launch of Ordinals, we've seen an explosion of reasons to etch data into the Bitcoin blockchain. If it's not the creation of NFTs or tokens, then it's to store and create decentralized IDs like MicroStrategy's Orange ID system. There you go. That's another thing, right? MicroStrategy's Orange ID system. Crickets. I'm not hearing nothing about it. I'm not hearing the Bitcoin maxis or the Bitcoin believers or the people that are in Bitcoin talking shit, good or bad, about MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor's Orange ID system. They just let it go. Dude can do anything. And you got Michael Saylor talking about crypto now, and finally people are starting to talk shit on him a little bit, you know? But it really is, you know, consider the source, whoever it comes from. We got these heroes who built up these people. It's crazy, man. Ordinals and inscriptions have turned your average full node operator into an unpaid cloud storage provider. While the miner gets all the fees, the node runners are stuck with the burden of additional data. Okay, but we have the Bitcoin blockchain, so we're storing Satoshi's data that he put out there. Chancellor on brink of second bailout from banks, and that's cool. But when other people do it, right, we can't do it. So, but for other reasons, we can't do it. All these people want to be judges. Isn't it a free market? Let the market decide. Let everybody decide as a whole. But I guess letting everyone decide as a whole in the free market, it's just a combination of all of us, our individual ideas. So the majority will just win? Not 100% sure, but that's what it seems like. That's the world we live in today. So what new costs will we impose on nodes today? It's getting juicy. A Bitcoin anchored naming system, Spaces, is a naming protocol that leverages Bitcoin's existing infrastructure and security without requiring a new blockchain or any modifications to Bitcoin itself. It draws its inspiration from the efforts of BitDNS and Namecoin, but instead of trying to create a whole new chain, the data is embedded into the blockchain, and a UTXO represents the claim. Spaces serve as community identifiers that are distributed through an auction process built using existing Bitcoin scripting capabilities. On the traditional web, a space would be similar to a top-level domain, such as .com or .org. And here's a video too. You can check this out as well. I watched this. I'll probably make a video on this too. Where this is the creator right here, Mike Carson. He went on, he was talking about domains, Bitcoin spaces. It's super early. It's super early, but we got money. And what's next, right? Naming a digital identity that you control, because digital identities are coming. They are coming. They're going to be government issued identities. You get websites that are ICANN issued. They can take your stuff down at any moment, dude. Imagine how scary and crazy it's going to be with digital identities that the government or any central entity could just delete your entire presence. And with more and more things going online, just think about your own life. You're online all the time. You are online all the time. Don't even deny it. More and more things are being used online. And an ID online it's common sense, right? It makes sense. It's the next step. It just seems like that's the next step. We need ways to prove we are who we say we are. And who would you want to have ownership over your personal ID other than yourself? No one, right? Only you could control it. So it makes sense. Key features of the Spaces protocol include Bitcoin anchoring. The Spaces protocol leveraged Bitcoin's blockchain as a foundation, providing a tamper-proof and publicly verifiable ledger for recording domain name information. Decentralization. By removing reliance on centralized authorities, Spaces aimed to create a censorship-resistant and resilient naming system. Community ownership, domains or spaces, were to be owned, and managed by communities, fostering a decentralized governance model. Auction-based allocation. New domains were to be acquired through an auction system, ensuring fair distribution and preventing hoarding. You're a hoarder. Essentially, Spaces envisions a world where domain names were not controlled by a few corporations, but rather by the communities that use them. This approach held the potential to revolutionize how we interact with the internet. All these S's, right? Revolutionize. It's throwing me off reading this. Kind of hard. Decentralization. I'm used to seeing Z's, dude. Give me a Z. All right, revolutionize. I spell that with a Z. Decentralize. I spell that with a Z. So is this like a European thing? They throw S's in there? Give me a Z, dude. Show me the Z. Auction for a space. The protocol uses an auction-based method for distributing names rather than a first-come, first-served squatting approach, aiming to prevent any single entity from accumulating a disproportionate number of valuable or popular names. That's what we got, right? The .btcs. It comes out, it's just first come, first serve. Everybody flocks to it. You create 300,000 names. They sit there, they squat on these names. Like, what are you supposed to do? It's ridiculous. I like this for Bitcoin space. I don't know if this guy's saying it's good or bad, but it's good. Makes a lot of sense. Auctions, right? How did Satoshi do it? Yo, dudes, we're about to start mining this thing called Bitcoin. Check it out, right? Just let everyone know. And nobody cared really about Bitcoin when it first came out. It was a few people that came in, but the majority of people, they got everything. They got a lot of the Bitcoin for cheap, but it was a fair, open market. Something similar is happening in Bitcoin spaces right now. A lot of people are scooping up names, but it's fair and open, free market. Since auctions alone cannot entirely eliminate the possibility of name squatting, and to further ensure fairness, the protocol introduces a dynamic name rollout process to control the release of names through a pre-auction phase, ensuring that each name gets adequate attention and the opportunity for fair and open public bidding. Proceeds generated through auctions are irrevocably burned. Welcome to MySpace. Within each space, users can create subspaces. MySpace. Is that a good subspace? Is that a good space? Might be. Subspaces, which serve as trustless individual identities operating with a high degree of autonomy, primarily off-chain, but can also submit transactions directly on the Bitcoin chain. Auctions are split into a pre-auction and auction phase to drum up as much interest in each space. And since protocol caps the number of spaces released to 10 per day, or a total of 3,600 community spaces per year, bidders are encouraged to submit pre-signed Bitcoin transactions, PSBTs, And where multiple bids are placed simultaneously on the same space UTXO, only one bid will succeed in burning the coins. Yes, that's right. The funds are sent to a burn address, reducing the circulation of Bitcoin. Cha-ching! I don't know if he's being cheeky about that, but hey, you're right. It's a good and a bad thing. I can understand both sides. People are getting pissed about the Bitcoin burning. Auctions last 10 days, and spaces are assigned to the highest bidders. After an auction, the newly created space certificate will be represented as a Bitcoin UTXO. Space UTXOs can hold any value, just like regular Bitcoin UTXOs. Well, Satoshi burnt 1 million coins, right? Sometimes when you're coming out with a new thing, new technology, and nobody's on it, nobody cares about it, right? You got to bootstrap it by yourself and with just a few other plebs like myself. I'm out here trying to make these videos to help out in any way that I can, and this just happens to be the way. You got to burn it, right? How else can it be fair? Satoshi mined 1 million Bitcoin and just threw away the key. Hey, I'll just mine this, bootstrap the system, and then I'll punt this key down my garbage disposal and chew it all up. And it's something similar here. These spaces, they're valuable, but who should get the funds? We don't know. It's not centralized. We don't want to control it, or, the people that made it don't want to control it. I didn't have anything to do with it, but they don't want the funds. Then obviously it would be centralized. So burn them boys. Spaces and subspaces. Spaces have a hard limit of 3,600 created per year, which isn't exactly scalable should there be demand for this product. Well, there's subspaces. It can be billions of names on top of the subspace. We just learned that a space is like a .com, a .org. It's a top level domain, and you could have all the names in the alphabet, all the letters in the alphabet, all the numbers in combination, billions, probably millions and billions of subspaces on top of the spaces. So it seems pretty daggone scalable when you consider that. Subspaces, unique identifiers operating off-chain within a community space, can be created to support additional demand. Once created, a subspace cannot be revoked unless it expires. Think of these as the subdomains you might create when you use a service like Medium or Substack, and you have the domain thebitcoinmanual.substack.com instead of the top level domain, right? So that's pretty scalable, right? These identities are organized into a Merkle tree off-chain, and the spaces operator submits the root of this tree on the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, there has been some talk in the Telegram about this. The subspace owner has to wait to become sovereign, which just means they fully own it without anyone in the middle until the space owner submits the tree root, I think is what it was, onto the Bitcoin blockchain. I'm not 100% sure what that is. A little technical, but like I said, I'll leave the links in the description below. If you're curious, you can read more about the Spaces protocol and decide for yourself. All right, here we go. Updates to the tree are managed through zero knowledge validity proofs, ZK proofs, which confirms the integrity and current state of the tree without revealing the individual updates. Subspace owners can deduct transactions off-chain via the Spaces operator or bypass the operator entirely and go directly to the Bitcoin blockchain. They can directly submit their transactions on-chain. Renewal of spaces. According to the Spaces protocol, your spaces and subspaces aren't owned but rented, since you need to pay renewal fees to ensure active utilization of names. All right, so this seems like he's not happy about it. Well, I'm not 100% happy about this either. I would like to just buy my name and hold it forever. But since the Bitcoin's burned and I'm not paying anyone, I'm just paying the network, I could see... I wish it was 4 years. I mean, personally, every Bitcoin halving, you have to renew your space. Instead of every 1 year, it's currently 1 year. So that is a critique I would have on this protocol as well. Every 1 year, that seems like a lot. I want to do every 4 years, but hey, it is what it is. And who are you renting it from? You're renting it from the network, right? You're re-upping it. So the reason that they do this is because to prevent squatters, to prevent dead names, right? These are top level domains. So if someone just gets a popular one like Bitcoin and then just dies, let's say, let's just say, right, something happens, well, then Bitcoin's gone forever, right? That doesn't make a ton of sense. So I could dig it. I could dig the renewal fee especially because you're not renewing with any one individual. You're just burning the Bitcoin. You're renewing it into the Bitcoin blockchain. You're making a donation to the entire Bitcoin blockchain, just like Satoshi said when, lost Bitcoin. So that's, I could stomach that a little easier, even though personally I would say 4 years is better. Subspaces must be renewed once a year as their certificate expires. So if I own it, why do I have to keep paying for it? All right, so he's questioning it. Make it make sense. Yeah, I mean, you have to keep paying for it because, like we just talked about, squatters, So it's a product designed to keep the names flowing and going. So, I mean, it is a knock. It is a little bit of a knock, but I would say it's not it's not the end of the world. It's not a killer for the protocol. It makes sense why, even though we don't like it, right? We want to have it forever. I want to have my name forever. I don't have to pay for it, right? That's good, but you have to go to the food store, right? Get food every week, right? You have to keep doing it. So it's kind of like, in that sense, we have to keep it up, keep it active, or it goes back to the network. Spaces can be renewed on-chain and off-chain, and the fees are meant to encourage the use of the spaces and place a cost on those who aim to domain squat on names with no purpose for using them other than to resell them later. So you'll be burning Bitcoin yearly to maintain ownership of your space. Ouch! Okay, I mean, this is a knock, but I think this is something that people are going to have to come to terms with here, where nothing's free. So yes, you're going to have to spend Bitcoin yearly to maintain something valuable, right? We think that, we're going to get a Bitcoin loan, we're going to get USD. No, you're not. No, you're not. Maybe in the short term you will, but how does that change the system? It doesn't change anything. You get a Bitcoin, you get a USD loan, and what? You're just changing real estate for Bitcoin, right? Everybody just borrows against their real estate. Now you're just going to borrow against your Bitcoin, and you just allow people to create free dollars, free money at the top, and the system's just super corrupt. So there's rich people at the top of the system that never have to dip into their wealth. They're just forever wealthy, and they get wealthier and wealthier. They use the free dollars to buy more assets, more Bitcoin, and just get wealthier and wealthier. Meanwhile, everyone at the bottom that doesn't know gets screwed. Come on, man. That system's crazy. And I know that we think that that's going to keep happening, and maybe this is a hot take, but I don't think we're going to have fiat loans on Bitcoin. There's going to be no loans, dude. You're not going to be able to borrow and consume. You're not going to be able to borrow from the future and consume in the present like we do now. That's going to totally change. What we're going to do is we're going to work. So we'll produce and we'll save. Then we'll consume. So we'll work. You'll be a teenager. You'll be growing up. You ain't got nothing. You ain't going to be going out getting no daggone loan and pulling from the future. No. Bitcoin money is the opposite. It's not inflationary, it's deflationary, right? Or it's neutral, and it just works with the natural deflationary nature of the economy of the world. So what you'll do is you'll work, you'll save, and the money that you earn, the Bitcoin, will go up in value as you save over time, and then you will consume. Then you will get your house or buy your thing. You won't be getting loans, dude. So anything that's valuable, you're going to have to get used to this. You're going to have to spend your Bitcoin to buy things that are valuable. You're not going to be able to squat on your Bitcoin and get free USD loans. That's crazy. Now, that is probably how it's going to happen in the short and medium term, but in the long term, it just doesn't make sense. We just have to go through this idiotic human phase until we realize it, but it just doesn't make sense. Why should people be able to create dollars, money, fiat, whatever, for free, and the rest of the world has to work for it? It just makes no sense. Bitcoin fixes this. You have to earn your money that is energy money, right? Requires energy to make this Bitcoin. It requires energy to earn this Bitcoin. So that just makes sense. So get it out of your head that you're getting free shit. You're not. You're going to have to spend your Bitcoin every year to buy a domain, a Bitcoin space if you want, buy your food, buy your house, buy your gas, buy your car, buy your heat, buy your electric, whatever it is. You're going to have to pay for shit. You're going to have to peel off some Bitcoin. That's how it's going to be. It just makes sense. If you just want a space for shits and giggles, and you're not actively monetizing it or having income to subsidize the renewals, you're going to have a bad time. Yeah, you ain't squatting on it, dog. What do we just talked about it? You're not going to be sitting around squatting on your space, right? You're not a king where you just got in early, you got your shit, and now you can just have it forever for free. No, that ain't the new world, man. That's the Bitcoin standard. You're not squatting on nothing, dude. You got to pay for your shit. That's fair, right? We're just so used to not fair. We're so used to just extracting value from other people that we're like, oh man, I can't rip these dudes off no more. I got to spend my actual Bitcoin. Oh, damn. We're pissed about it. And even if you have the funds to keep renewing, how much potential Bitcoin are you willing to put up for these spaces? And what value are you getting in return? Well, there you go. That's the free market. Let's figure it out. Reserving block space for money. I don't know if I'm jaded from the entire Ordinals experience. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are. You know, it just is what it is, but that's okay. We're learning. And every meta protocol that came with it, but I'm not convinced that using Bitcoin and the Bitcoin network for anything but money is a good idea. Well, tell Satoshi, bro. Tell Satoshi. Sure, of course, money's the first. Money. That's the first. Second is naming. Makes a lot of sense. And messaging, communication, right? Satoshi did it. Chancellor on brink a second bailout from banks. Come on now. Go yell at Satoshi then. Even if the data is lightweight and doesn't burden node runners, it could spur copycats who wish to do the same. And we'll end up having bidding wars for all sorts of digital spaces and identities. Oh no! A free market? Dude, just look at Bitcoin and altcoins, right? What did Bitcoin do? Bitcoin came out, an amazing invention. And what did it do? It spurred a bunch of copycats who wish to do the same thing in the form of altcoins. But you wouldn't say that Bitcoin's bad because it spurred a bunch of altcoins. You would just say, right, the altcoins suck. Yeah, that sucks, but Bitcoin's still amazing and awesome. So what is going on here? Come on now. But that's one man's opinion. Bitcoin is an open network that anyone can build on, and the Spaces protocol developers can do what they like. And if they find product market fit, by all means, that's great news for me as a hodler, as others burn their coins to maintain their space. That's right. Think of it as a donation to the network. Do your own research. If you want to learn more about the Spaces protocol, use this article as a starting point. Don't trust what we say as the final word. Take the time to research other sources, and you can start by checking out the resources below. spacesprotocol.org/paper. Yeah, check it out. That's what I'm here doing. Everyone's got to figure it out for themselves. Is it good? Is it bad? Seems good to me. And a lot of the complaints here are like, oh man, I got to spend my Bitcoin. Yeah, you got to spend your Bitcoin. If you want, if it's valuable enough, you got to spend your Bitcoin. But that's the world we're moving towards. We're moving towards a world where you're going to have to spend your Bitcoin. The people that produce, you just think about it from the other side. The people that produce chairs, wood, tables, couches, TVs, computers, monitors, whatever, food, anything you want to buy. Why should they accept dollars that you create for free, right? If you were creating a product, you are going to want real money. You're going to want Bitcoin for your product or service. So why would you expect any less from anyone else? Or you could say, well, we'll just collect dollars and then I'll immediately buy Bitcoin. Okay, well then just think about that forward. How long until everyone's going to be like, skip the dollar charade, just give me Bitcoin directly. And then you'll understand it makes a lot of sense. Point is, you got to spend your Bitcoin. That's the only future that makes sense to me. We might take a little while to get there, but that's where we're headed. And as far as the Bitcoin Spaces protocol, I hope it works. It seems good. We need naming. Digital IDs are coming. They will be issued by a central party. And if you don't want to have anything to do with that, maybe you should look into the Bitcoin Spaces protocol and figure out if this is the protocol that's going to help us have decentralized IDs, naming, domains, gamer tags, Bitcoin wallet addresses. There's all types of stuff. Nostr usernames. There's all types of use cases for naming. And it's very important. After money, money's number one, naming's number two. And we'll see. Bitcoin Spaces Protocol. Will it be the one